up there. So you look at history, every successful revolution has been won because of a small group of determined individuals. So you look around this room and you are looking at the small group of determined revolutionaries that will change the laws of the state of Texas and legalize marijuana in our state. So thank you for being here tonight. If you could please. Jeffrey is our Texas Normal Legal Counsel, and he has a fantastic incentive for you to join Texas Normal, which he is going to explain to you.
Thank you, David. So, howdy, folks. I'm Jamie Spencer. I'm legal counsel for Texas Normal. Dave was talking about, membership, and we appreciate anything you can do financially. There are membership levels that are lower than the Freedom Fighter level. That is $100. But for those of you that it's not your first meeting, you may remember I've talked about this a couple of times. Basically, here's the deal I'm making, folks. If you are a Freedom Fighter level member of Texas Normal and you get arrested and charged with either a misdemeanor or a state jail felony level marijuana offense in Travis County, and for those of you who don't know, this is a volunteer gig. My real job is I'm a criminal defense lawyer during the day. I will defend y'all for free if you get arrested in Travis County for those offenses. Awesome, and we've already had some freedom fighters tonight, apparently. So that offer, of course, that was a little bonus that maybe y'all didn't know about. Me up on it, especially the felony. There's really no need to be wandering around with more than 4 ounces for most of us. But at any rate, just wanted y'all to know that. Another free perk of joining Texas Normal, and we're going to put that money to good use. We're going to legalize marijuana in Texas. Thanks, guys.
We would like to thank Angela and the Flamingo Cantina for hosting us. Please tip your bartenders. It's a fantastic honor that we have that we can have our meetings here at the Flamingo Cantina every month. So thank you, Angela. Thank you, Flamingo Cantina. All right, let's talk about some good marijuana news. I am proud to announce that the Republican Party of the state of Texas is on our side now. I base this seemingly crazy statement on the official Texas Republican Party platform for the upcoming elections. Party platform position number 107, civil penalty. We support a change in the law to make it a civil and not a criminal offense for legal adults to possess 1 ounce or less of marijuana for personal use, punishable by a fine up to $100, but without jail time. Thank you, Republican Party. We'll take that. Position number 246, Compassionate Use Act. We call upon the Texas legislature to improve the 2015 Compassionate Use Act to allow doctors to determine the appropriate use of cannabis to certified patients. Thank you, Republicans. We'll take that. This would not have happened without your support. This is what a small group of dedicated activists in Texas has accomplished. We are on the Republican platform. Now, every time you talk to a Republican, I hope that you can quote these platform positions. Every time you talk to your legislator, either in an email, a letter, or in a personal meeting, be sure and quote these platform positions. These are the official positions of the Republican Party in Texas, voted on and passed by a huge majority recently at the Texas Republican Convention. There's no going back now. The Republicans are on our side. Now, we'll see what effect this platform has on Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick. But you can bet we're going to put it in front of them every chance we get. I am also happy to say that the Democratic Party of Texas is on our side. These are two of their positions. Texas Democrats support legislation to legalize possession and use of cannabis and its derivatives, and to regulate its use, production, and sale, as is successfully done in Colorado. Thank you, Colorado. Washington. Thank you, Washington. And other states. Good job, Democrats. Texas Democrats support the immediate legalization of medical cannabis use. All patients, veterans, and caregivers in Texas, thank you, Democrats. I am also happy to say that the Libertarian Party of Texas has always been on our side. So thank you, Libertarians. You led the way. And in a momentous win for the people of Oklahoma, State Question 788 passed 57% to 43% to legalize medical marijuana in my home state of Oklahoma. Good job, Oklahoma. Now, the difference between Oklahoma and Texas is that Oklahoma has ballot initiative. Texas does not have ballot initiative. If Texas had ballot initiative, we would all be out on the streets gathering signatures to put the question on the ballot in Texas. But our politicians in Texas keep all the power to themselves. They give no power to the people. And so we do not have the right to ballot initiative. We have to go up to the Capitol and fight for our rights to use cannabis, which is what we are doing. But sometimes people say, we don't understand why marijuana is not legal in Texas. Willie Nelson lives there, for God's sake. But the reason is we don't have ballot initiative. If we had ballot initiative, Texas would have been, without a doubt, one of the very first states to legalize marijuana. But our politicians do this on purpose. There's about 12 people in the state of Texas that new laws do not get passed unless they all agree on it. And that's Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, the Speaker of the House, the Chairman of the Calendars Committee, and the chairpersons of each one of the other committees in the legislature, both on the Senate side and the House side. Any one of those people can stop a bill totally dead in its tracks. And so that's why our work is so difficult in Texas. But thanks to you, when the 85th legislature convenes on January the 8th, we'll be right back up there fighting to legalize cannabis. We will never stop because truth is on our side. State Question 788 is the most patient-friendly medical marijuana program in the entire United States. The reason is because there are no qualifying conditions. Doctors alone will decide if marijuana can help a patient's illness, and that's exactly what we want in Texas. I do not want the government to tell me whether I can use cannabis for my service-connected disabilities. I retired from the Army after 21 years. I don't need the government to decide my medicines. I can make up my own mind about my medical treatment. I want medical freedom, and I demand medical freedom. And medical freedom is a bedrock Republican principle. And so I want Governor Abbott to grant me my medical freedom to use cannabis instead of psychotropic drugs for PTSD and pain pills for chronic pain. Home grow was also part of State Question 788. And so patients in Texas, patients in Oklahoma will be able to grow their own medicine, as we all should have the right to do. And even though the regulators decided that smokable marijuana would not be sold in dispensaries, Oklahomans who grow their own plants will obviously be able to smoke the flower from their plants. And Oklahomans are already getting ready to fight these regulations, and they're going to keep working to keep their program one of the best in the United States. And Texas is now completely surrounded by medical marijuana states. So look around, Governor Abbott. New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and even Louisiana has some dispensaries now. It's time for Texas to do the right thing. So thank you for being here. We will win. There's no doubt about it. Because, like I said, truth is on our side, and the people are on our side now. The lifeblood of any movement is bringing on new, young leaders with fresh energy and new ideas. Tonight, we are proud to introduce two of the newest members of our Texas Normal Board of Directors, Anita Summers and Carlos Caro. As you can tell, you know, I'm getting kind of elderly. Hate to admit it. So we got to have young people step up and take the lead and let me kind of, you know, relax a little bit. I'll still be in the fight, but we need young people out there on point because you guys got the energy, you've got the new ideas. Anita is a proud Air Force veteran. She is a graduate of Texas Tech University. Anita is a microbiology technologist who diagnoses infectious diseases. Tonight, she will discuss science and the use of medical marijuana. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce you to Anita.
All right, I appreciate that, Dave. Also, I want to say thank you to Texas Normal, the national organization for the reform of marijuana laws. I am so excited to be a lifetime member with you guys. Ow! Also, I want to give a special thanks to Flamingo Cantina, Angela, for actually giving me the stage to tell my story today. Nice, thank you. And my goodness, the support. Wow, it really tugged at the heartstrings that you guys came out, took a time out of life, and literally came out to just show some support. So I just want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you to my older brother, because without this would have never happened. Let's get a round of applause for everybody here for showing up, right? All right, now it's about to get real though, folks. It's about to get real. So I'm going to share with you my serendipitous journey. It's going to get real. All right. So I feel like it's my moral, my ethical obligation to share my passion, my purpose, and my new truth with you all today. I want you for a moment to think about this. Think about that you've just digested glass. Let's fast forward the digestion process, and now that glass is in your lower bowels. It's piercing and slicing the inner mucosal lining of your membrane. But wait, there's more. The waste of your body still needs to pass and exit. So now your waste is just rubbing on those open sores. That is the best way that I can describe my ailment that you cannot see. Unfortunately, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis over 10 years ago. Whew. This is the first time I'm actually publicly saying this, so bear with me, folks. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have a sick booty hole. So, the symptoms, chronic lower abdominal pain, fevers of 103 and higher. I mean, the fatigue would just leave me feeling like a zombie. And the worst part, the dysentery, the bloody, the mucus, and the diarrhea. Wah, wah. It's a shit show, folks. Pun intended. Oh, man, that's rough saying that out loud. So after dealing with all of this for over a decade, every time I would end up in the hospital, the nurses would just make it worse. They're just jabbing at my veins. Let's fix this. Jabbing at my veins. Nope. All right. And I actually would look worse leaving the hospital than I would getting there because my veins would just not show up. So I'd have bruises all over my arms. I'd look like I just went to battle. A lot of people here know and have seen that personally. They've seen me in my lowest of my lows. Oh, thanks, Dave. Yeah. Dave to the rescue. Thank you. So I've been there. I've been in that dark place, like looking up, saying, why? Why is this happening to me? But I was tired of being a slave to my own bowels. And once they raised the analytical diagnostics in the cannabis world, I was like, hey, now you're speaking my language. This is tickling my fancy. So I'm a hands-on learner type of gal, and I went across the nation learning the cannabis industry. I did walkthroughs of labs, walkthroughs of farms, walkthroughs of dispensaries. I've attended Cannabis Compliance Summit, MJ BizCon, Cannabis Science Conference, trade shows. I even sat in the courtroom in New York against Jeff Sessions because supporting the plaintiffs, right? Because this beautiful cannabis flower, as classified as a Schedule I drug, is completely unconstitutional. Let's be real, right? Let's be real, folks. All right, so I've been around, but while I was out and on my journey, I actually started having symptoms of a flare-up. And normally I would be like, really? I became an expert at faking being healthy. I've literally been here in Flamingo Cantina feeling like shit, but I don't let anyone know that because I don't want you to know what I'm going through. I don't want to talk about that, but now I do. Now I do because when I was in Vegas, I had the opportunity to get cannabis. So it was like, as the scientist in me, I'm like, okay, scientific method. I've got my problem. I have my hypothesis. I got my experiment. I'm gonna try this. Does this work? So what I tried was a cannabis suppository. Now I know a lot of guys, because I've told a lot of my friends, and my guy friends are like, not no, but hell no. Pass, next, what else do you have? Like real quick. But for me, having GI issues for over a decade, I was willing to try anything. So I did. I tried it. And for the first time in my 10 years of having ulcerative colitis, I dodged the hospital. What? What? Say what now? My life doesn't stop. I continue. Life goes on. This was a beautiful thing for me. I've never had that before. That's why I'm standing to share with you all my cannabis testimony. But as a scientist, then I start asking how this happened. What was in this cannabis suppository that helped me? How did this work? Well, we all know and we've learned about the systems of the body that help us stay balanced. We have our immune system, lymphatic system, our skeletal system, muscular system, just to name a few. But no one ever taught me about the endocannabinoid system. Didn't even know about it. And the receptors and endocannabinoids and the phytocannabinoids and terpenes that work with it. Never heard of that before. It took me actually getting out there and trying to learn on my own to figure it out. So let's talk about it. We have a CB1 and CB2 receptors. The CB1 receptors are predominantly found on your neuron cells. And actually, before I even get into this further, everything I'm about to talk about with science, this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. There is so much amazing science going on. Unfortunately, it's like in Israel or Canada because of the whole scheduling that we've got going on here. But back to the receptors, CB1 receptors, and now CB2 receptors, our immune response cells. Well, what binds to these receptors? Well, we have endocannabinoids. Endo meaning internal, endogenous, within. Cannabinoids meaning the compounds from the cannabis plant. We have anandamide and 2-AG. Fun fact, Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss. So we have our own bliss molecule. Actually, if you want to get technical, it's a neurotransmitter. That's just the nerdiness in me. Also, fun fact, anandamide is in chocolate. Yay, thanks, Claire. What else works with these receptors? We have phytocannabinoids. Well, we don't. Phyto meaning plant, cannabinoids being the compounds from the cannabis plant. We know about the ones in the spotlight right now, THC and CBD, but there is so much more. CBG, CBN, CBC, CBL. And on top of that, it just determines on, is it a raw flower? Is it heated or decarboxylated? Is it old? Has it aged? So depending on what stage it is, it can have different properties. All right, what else? What else works with the receptors? There's terpenes, not we. The plants have terpenes. Limonene, alpha pinene, beta-caryophyllene. All these things. Doesn't build a sword out there. No, they have compounds. So when these all work together, it's called the entourage effect. Where do we find them? If you were to hold a beautiful bud and you would notice all the frostiness on it, those are trichomes. So all these magical properties are within the glandular heads, or capitate if you want to get technical, of the trichomes. It's a really beautiful thing in how synergistically it works with our bodies to maintain balance. Now, I know I'm up here talking about GI issues, but the fact of the matter is, cannabis has been used for thousands of years, and it can help with many ailments. I'm just sharing my personal story because it's so huge. I've never dodged the hospital before. So I hope I can be your catalyst. I hope I can get you thinking. Check out patent 6630507. It says it right there in black and white, folks. It talks about the cannabinoids, their properties. It uses terms like prophylaxis, treatment. It's all there in black and white if that's what you need to see. This movement has gotten under my skin and into my heart. So follow me. I'm on Instagram, cbd.genie. Follow Texas Normal. Join Texas Normal. If you're a veteran, find Dave, Whitebeard. Find Dave. Seriously, get involved. This is a big deal. This is huge. Think about it. It's happening all over the nation. We can't sit here and just Texas would come around. That. But if you can't, tell me, I'll be your mouthpiece. I don't mind. I definitely don't mind. So I just want to say thank you so much for showing up. I really, really appreciate the support. I literally have Air Force friends, high school friends, my girlfriend. Like, you guys are so amazing. So, my empathetic heart, integrity, and a sense of humor, CBD joins the good fight and speaking out for the cannabis flower. Thank you so much, guys.
I have nothing to say.
Thank you, Anita. Let's give her a big hand. It takes a lot of courage to get up on this stage and talk about your medical ailment, so we really appreciate Anita doing that. Carlos, sitting right over here, is a professional educator in Austin. Carlos was previously active in Rio Grande Valley Normal. It takes tremendous courage to discuss marijuana law reform down in the valley where prohibition has its roots, and they're literally under martial law, almost literally under martial law right now, and Carlos can tell you about that. So that's where Carlos is from. Carlos is the secretary of the Foundation for an Informed Texas, our 501c3 organization. Carlos is proud to serve on the Texas Normal Board, and I'm proud to introduce Carlos. Carlos is going to talk about room at the table.
All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all for coming out tonight. Really appreciate your presence here. This is how change happens. Thank you. My name is Carlos Caro, and I am the Secretary of Foundation for an Informed Texas. I also am on the board of Texas Normal. And previously, before that, I helped and create RGV Normal, the regional chapter of National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws down in the Rio Grande Valley, along with a Iraq War veteran and a mother with a child who had severe epilepsy. So what I want to talk to y'all about today, guys, is expanding the message of cannabis reform to people and groups not normally associated with our movement. And one of the primary issues and reasons that I want to talk to y'all about this today is because 2019 is looking to be a very big year for us as far as the legislative session goes. And in order to get us over the hill, in order to get us over the top, to finish what we started in 2015 with our medical program, our TCUP program, we need everybody to come aboard, of all ideologies, of all backgrounds, of all mindsets, of all professions. And that's what I'm going to talk about with y'all here. Now, traditionally, cannabis reform has been something that has been easy to attract with regards to liberals and libertarian-minded individuals, right? I mean, that's not a difficult issue to get people with that sort of ideology to coalesce around. Where the challenge has been historically is reaching out to groups that really don't jive with that really don't typically see cannabis reform as something that jives with their particular political ideology or belief. Now, again, us being here in Austin and Travis County as a whole, the politics around this issue is very different than the state as a whole. And while Austin tends to be a liberal bastion, that's not the case for the rest of the state. The rest of the state is overwhelmingly conservative and overwhelmingly conservative and Christian. And it's up to us to reach out to these folks and let them know that there's room at the table of reform for them to sit at and take hand in ending prohibition in this state. Now, with that being said, when we talk about issues of fiscal responsibility, when we talk about issues of limited government and personal freedom from the ideology of ending cannabis prohibition, these are all winning arguments from a conservative ideology and a conservative viewpoint. To that end, the organization that I am a secretary for, that I work passionately for, FIT, we've made a concerted effort to reach out to more rural Texans that tend to hold more conservative views and reach out to them and say, hey, your ideology is welcome in the reform movement. You can fit your ideology perfect with what it is that we're trying to build and to end in the state. Now, with that being said, I want to talk to you a little bit about former state representative David Simpson. Now, former Representative David Simpson out of Longview was a Tea Party Republican in the House. And in 2015, he introduced what was essentially one of the most liberal pro-cannabis bills in Texas history. And essentially what it would have done is it would have wiped any mention of cannabis or marijuana under the Texas Penal Code. Now, you may be asking yourself, what drew a Tea Party Republican to adopt such a bill and introduce it? Well, simple. His ideology and reasoning and approach to that issue was a religious one. Now, I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have the quote in front of me, but essentially his reasoning and rationale was this. If God created everything in the heavens and the earth, who is government to step in and outlaw a natural plant such as cannabis, especially one that has healing properties? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thanks to Representative Simpson in the 2015 legislative session, he essentially took an issue that was once relegated to liberal bastions and libertarian ideology, and he thrust it in the center of conservative Christian circles. And he made a religious argument as to why we should end prohibition in this state. Now, to that end, two organizations that I want to speak to y'all about and give y'all more information do this on the daily. Again, FIT is one of them, Texas Normal is one of them. But our coalition partners at Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition, led by Mrs. Ann Lee out of Houston, Texas, is really leading the movement to reach out to our conservative brothers and sisters and say, hey, come on board with us, guys. There's room at the table for y'all to end this disastrous prohibition in the state. Yeah, exactly. From the Christian religious perspective, Clergy for a New Drug Policy, a more national group, but they do have a presence in the state as well, they work under an umbrella of ending the war on drugs as a whole. And they work under the Christian ideology of forgiveness, passion, reform. And underneath that umbrella of ending the war on drugs is the legalization of cannabis. And again, much like Representative Simpson did in 2015, when he thrust this issue in the center of conservative Christian circles, Clergy for a New Drug Policy is doing the same thing. Now, again, I bring this up because traditionally this issue has been relegated to libertarian and liberal thought. But that's not the case anymore. That's not the case anymore. Us and our coalition partners are working to change that. Now, again, the reason why I bring all these points up about reaching out folks from different ideologies, especially those that are outside of our what we'd consider to be the norm in this movement, is because in order to get over the hill in 2019, we need to bring everybody on board. We need to bring everybody on board. And regardless of what your political ideology is, I think Dave alluded to this earlier, every major political party in Texas now supports some sort of cannabis reform. All major parties support that now. This is no longer a fringe minority issue. I think last Gallup poll I saw at the national level quoted somewhere around 63-64% of Americans, regardless of political ideology, believe in legalization at the federal level. And I think it's up in the, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's up in the late 80s, 88, 89%, I think was the last poll taken as well, support medical cannabis at the federal level as well, right? Regardless of ideology. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, with that said, guys, I want to speak a little bit about my background. And Dave alluded to that a little bit before. I do come from the Rio Grande Valley. I'm a fourth generation Texan, born and raised in the Valley 4 generations. And yeah, Dave did say that it is a heavily militarized border, and it's sad to see it turn that way, but that's a fact of life. And back in 2015, when I was finishing up grad school, my main topic of study was critiquing the federal government's prohibition of marijuana. I was asked by my professors, well, what do you want to do with this, right? Because it's one thing to study this in the comfort of the four walls of a sanitary, clean academic setting. Well, what are you going to do with what you've learned and what you've written? Because it makes no sense to put all time into this and then you do nothing with it when you're out. And I said, you're right. So I'd like to get involved with a reform movement. I'd like to get something going here locally because nothing exists. Nothing existed. So I partnered up. I reached out to Javier Tobias. He's a Iraq War veteran who suffers heavily from PTSD. And we partnered with Cristina Oyervides, a woman whose daughter suffers from severe epilepsy. And we all brought different reasons as to why we should end prohibition in the state. And regardless of what our ideologies were, and again, we were all varied in our political ideologies, when it came to ending cannabis prohibition, we were able to get a following in the Rio Grande Valley. We were able to coalesce and educate the population down there as to what was going on. And it was very enlightening, right? Fast forward, moved up to Austin, got heavily involved with Texas Normal at the state level, helped found Foundation for an Informed Texas, our 501c3 nonprofit. And here we are, guys, right? We're on the cusp of another 2019 legislative session. Now, for the last 11 years, I've worked in public education. 8 of those years, I've worked as a high school social studies teacher. Now, I've seen firsthand what cannabis prohibition does to our youth. Now, according to DPS statistics, and this is according to the last 2 years that are the most recently available on their website, the 2 largest age groups that get arrested for Class B misdemeanor marijuana prohibition, 2 ounces of flour or less, are 15 to 19 years old, followed by 19 to 24. Now, as an educator, I look at those ages and here's what I see. A 15-year-old is your freshman at the end of their school year, your incoming sophomore. And let's jump ahead of the early 20s. That's that age of your average college student or someone who's just entered the professional workforce. Now, when someone is saddled with a Class B misdemeanor, and again, I want to go back to what I said at the start. We are in Austin, Texas. This is Travis County. Granted, getting caught here for the most part, not always, but for the most part, will be way different than if you were caught with a Class B possession down in the Rio Grande Valley, or most parts of the state, to be honest with you. So, with that in mind, you know, it's very important that whatever our perspective is, we bring it to the table of reform. Again, I'm an educator, right? I'm going out on a limb talking about this because I am advocating for the legalization of a Schedule I narcotic. But like Dave mentioned earlier, history and truth is on our side. History and truth is on our side. Now, that being said, here's what a Class B misdemeanor will do to you, especially if you're in that age bracket. It'll keep you from getting federal financial aid. It'll keep you from serving in our armed forces. And in many cases, it'll lock you out of professional employment. On top of that, we're going to make this argument from a conservative perspective. It's a fiscal waste of taxpayer dollars to be locking up people in this age group for non-violent offenses for what are essentially youthful indiscretions. Now, that being said, I want to conclude by leaving y'all with this message. And I'll be the first to say that what I'm about to propose to y'all ain't easy. And I've experienced this firsthand with friends, with family, with colleagues. But here's the thing. Whatever your political ideology or whatever your belief is, step out of your comfort circle, step out of your bubble, and learn other ideologies, learn other points of view. I teach government and U.S. history, by the way. That's why it's my point of view in this. And when we do that, guys, we can welcome more people to the table of reform. In doing so, we will help end this disastrous prohibition that has wrecked thousands of lives in this state and across our country by the millions. Now, that being said, guys, whenever and wherever you can, please spread your belief as to why you think cannabis should be reformed. Whether you think it should be decriminalized or you believe all the way in full recreational legalization. Whatever you believe on that bracket, speak openly and speak passionately about that. Yes, it will be uncomfortable at times. Yes, you will receive pushback. Absolutely, I'll be the first to say that. I've received it on the personal level, at the professional level. But nonetheless, stats and facts and history are on our side. We are no longer in the fringe. A majority of Americans, all political parties in Texas, now back reform. So again, guys, please reach out to folks outside of your circle. Please reach out to folks that you normally don't see eye to eye with on political issues. Thank y'all, guys. My name is Carlos Scotto.
Anita and Carlos did good, didn't they? Yeah. First time on the stage. We will welcome them back. Hey, I left my business cards in my truck. And so if you are a veteran or if you know a veteran, please put in your cell phone right now my email address and email me so I can put you or your veteran friend on our Texas Veterans for Medical Marijuana email list. It is Dave@texasnormal.org. Dave@texasnormal.org. If you're a veteran, please email me. If you know a veteran, have them email me so they can be on our email list, and then they'll be in the fight and know what the plan of action is. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to bring to you our Texas Normal Executive Director and a true warrior for justice in Texas, Jack Finkel.
I don't like a mic stand. How else do you drop a mic if you have a mic stand? Throw it? Oh, okay, got it. Hi, guys. How are y'all doing? It's hot. There are fans over there if you need fans. There's fans at the table, FYI. All right, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about upcoming events that we have, and specifically some important dates to save for the session that are coming up. First of all, in June, Dave highlighted a little bit about what happened with all the platform planks across the different parties, but I did want to add real quick that there also was a pancake breakfast hosted by the coalition that we're a part of, Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy. Excuse me, that is a tongue tire for some reason tonight. Don't know why. And they actually sold out of breakfast twice. There were so many people that wanted to come and have conversations about cannabis and have free food. Duh, we like free food. And then also at the Democratic Convention, I was able to work with delegates there to put on the second ever Texas Cannabis Caucus. It was packed. Like, people were standing 3 rows deep around on the walls. Probably about 350 people there. And we had sitting DA Kim Ogg address the group. If you aren't familiar with her, she has instituted 2 different programs in Houston to try to mitigate some of the harm of this bad policy. One is a pretrial diversion program, and one is a first chance program. And so she spoke a little bit about how that had actually saved Harris County $27 million in the first year. Like, no big deal, that's not a lot of money or anything. And then we also had some, Judge Delaney came and spoke, and also Christy Zartler, who's the mother of Kara Zartler. You might be familiar with her, but she has autism and is self-injurious, and she basically went viral this last year, and it caused CPS to be called on her family. And they went through some hard times dealing with that, but were able to maintain care of her, and eventually were awarded guardianship. And so Christy kind of talked about how she'd been a Republican for a really long time. And then this Democratic judge stepped in, and despite things that had happened and things that were known about them, let her keep the guardianship of her child when she turned 18, because Kara can't care for herself. So that was a big win for them. And she also got to talk a little bit about how much better Kara's life is with cannabis. So I wanted to share a little bit about some other kind of fun things that happened at the different conventions. I will be leaving on July 21st and going to DC, where I will be lobbying. We'll be having meetings with different federal level legislators from Texas. Last time I had about 6 different meetings. I'm hoping to have at least that many this time. And I'll also be participating in the conference that they're having there. So there will be a whole conference day, learning about different things, and then a whole lobby day up there. And I'm very excited. This is the second time that I've gone. And last time, most offices didn't even know what the Texas Compassionate Use Program was. And it's the program in their state. So that was great. Open your eyes. Also in August, on August 1st, we'll be having our open meeting back here at Flamingo Cantina. We're here the first Wednesday of every month. And also in August, there's going to be a really big first, and it's going to be here in Austin. It's the Texas Marijuana Policy Conference. It's going to be, I know, girl, it's going to be good. It's August 10th to 12th. I've mentioned it before. There's going to be a reception Friday night. There's going to be panels and breakouts all day Saturday, ending with a banquet in the evening. And then there will be a half day on Sunday, where there will end with a tour of the Capitol if you wanted to participate in that. But I wanted to tell you real quick some of the speakers, because they have announced quite a few of the panels. I will be participating in a panel, Roadmap to Reform. That'll be on Saturday morning. There will also be a panel regarding federal level policy, another one about cannabis and the Second Amendment, another one regarding parents and caregivers, where Representative Lucio will be moderating. And then there's a really cool one I'm excited about medical cannabis. What does the research tell us? And it's got Dr. Brian Adenoff, Dr. Auer, Dr. Elias Jackson, who actually works out of MD Anderson down in Houston, and Dr. Sue Sicily. Like, no big deal, you guys. It's fine. It's not a big deal. She's not amazing. It's just wonderful. So I'm actually really excited. I got to go and have an office meeting with Sue Sicily, with representatives here in Texas last year, and man, she knows her stuff. She really knows the science behind it and how to talk to legislators about it. So that's a highlight for me so far as to what they've announced. Also, Texas Patchwork of Marijuana Policies. That's going to have Chairman Joseph Moody, who, as you know, champions the civil penalty bill. Also, District Attorney Mark Gonzalez out of Nueces County. He's been doing diversionary programs down in his county. Chief of Staff for Connie Burton will be there, and also Judge Delaney. He's also a veteran, and he works with Law Enforcement Action Partnership, formerly known as LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And there's also going to be one on cannabis, faith, and family. So, I mean, there's really a lot of different cool topics. There's going to be a pastor, someone from the Clergy for New Drug Policy, and the Libertarian Christian Institute. Sounds like a lot of people with a lot of Christian ideas they want to talk about. So that's going to be really awesome. You can still get tickets online, and there's a different variety of packages that you can get. And then in September, we're going to be having our open meeting. September is where a lot of stuff is going to kind of start picking up. In September and October, we're also going to be doing our next round of fall advocacy trainings. That's where we go around the state. We'll be traveling to 9 different cities, and we'll be training and educating people in each of those cities and preparing for the upcoming legislative session. We're also working on the voter's guide so that you guys will have that in time for early voting. That's super important that you have that. And also in either September or October, we're going to be hosting another candidate forum. Last time, as you may recall, it was unbelievably packed in here. We had, I think, 23 different candidates. 3 of them were incumbents, and it was a really great event. So we're looking forward to another one of those. So that'll be either September 5th or October 3rd. We'll announce, as we decide on that. Who's registered to vote? If you are not registered to vote, you have until October 9th. Don't forget to register to vote. We don't have ballot initiative. You have to vote for people that like cannabis. Okay, that's how it works here. It's unlucky. And then October 20th, we are going to be having the Texas Veteran Conference here in Austin at the State Capitol building. So we're working on that agenda and all the speakers. It'll be between I want to say it's going to be 2 and 4. So we'll have more details for you on that. And then it'll be early voting, October 22nd to November 2nd. That's early voting. And then November 6th is Election Day. And lo and behold, November 7th is our open meeting. So we can report back as to what has happened. Who won election? Do they like us? I feel like that's like a wrestle thing that's going to happen or something. Now, I want to also talk real quick before we close here about some important legislative dates that are coming up. November 12th, so just 6 days after election, legislators start pre-filing bills. So that is the first possible day that any bill could be put forth. And that's like, what? So it's coming up quick. Then January 8th is going to be the first day of the session. That's only very long. And then January 14th, it's a Saturday. We're going to be hosting an advocacy training here up at the Capitol. So we'll have traveled all around the state in the fall and let them know what's going on. And then right when session starts, we're going to host one here so that everybody can get on board with that as well. That's going to be amazing. And then on February 6th, we're going to have our lobby day again. For those of you that have been there before, we get hundreds of professional-looking people up at the Capitol. I mean, it is amazing. Hundreds. I am not kidding. There was like 350 people on a Tuesday in the middle of February, dressed up nice, to go and meet with their legislators. And we had meetings with every single senatorial district and almost every single House of Representative district. So that is pretty amazing. And then in February and March, we've also reserved the hearing hallway down in the underground to put on educational exhibits again. We have done this 2 sessions now, and they have been wildly successful. They have educated people. They have started controversy. It's been good. We stir the pot. It's fine. So we will probably be looking for people to help with that. We'll be talking specifically 1 week all about civil penalties, and then another week all about medical cannabis. So that takes us through March. there will be more stuff and more opportunities along the way. We're probably going to be doing direct actions of some sort every week at the Capitol starting in late fall. And so there will be opportunities to come and help distribute educational materials. And if you're interested in that, make sure you're signing up on our website for our newsletter or sign up on the email list over there as well. That's all I got, Dave. All right. Momentarily, we will be excused to the Freedom Zone by Teacher Dave.
Thanks, Jax. Jax is a great leader. Let's give her a big round of applause. It's hard being the leader if you've ever been a leader. Hey, we're going to take a break, and then the great Mau Mau Chaplains will perform. If you have never heard the Mau Mau Chaplains, you definitely want to stay around and hear them. They are a great Austin tradition and a legend. Thank you so much for being here. We're Texas Normal. We're going to legalize marijuana in Texas. See you next month.